Before you lies one of the most amazing plants in the world. It looks like a piece of living meat, ready to snap shut at any moment and catch its prey. We are talking about the Venus flytrap, a plant that hunts like a predator, even though it has no muscles or nervous system. But why does this plant catch insects at all? After all, ordinary plants feed on sunlight and water. Why did the Venus flytrap choose its own path? What secrets does this amazing hunter hide? In this video, we will figure out why the Venus flytrap became a hunter, how its trap works, where it lives in nature, and most importantly, why this plant needs insects so much for survival. After watching, you will understand that this is not just an exotic curiosity, but the result of millions of years of evolution, an adaptation of a plant to survive in extreme conditions. Chapter 1. Where hunting came from in the plant world. Let's start from the beginning. Most plants are silent workers. They take water from the soil, get energy from the sun, and that's enough for their life. Photosynthesis is a magical process in which a plant converts sunlight into energy. But not all places on Earth are the same. Imagine a swamp with black acidic soil, where there are almost no nutrients that a plant needs. It is in such places that the Venus flytrap lives. This swamp is not a paradise for plants. The soil here is poor in nitrogen. Nitrogen is a nutrient without which a plant cannot grow, cannot create leaves, stems, flowers. For an ordinary plant, life in such soil would be torture. But nature and its evolution is a genius engineer. Over millions of years, the Venus flytrap learned to get nitrogen in another way. Not waiting for it to appear in the soil, but hunting for it. Where is nitrogen? Nitrogen is found in living creatures. In insects, in their bodies, in their muscles and skeletons. That is why the Venus flytrap came up with a simple strategy. If the soil does not give, we will take it from living creatures. So the plant became a hunter. But here an interesting question arises. How can a plant that has no brain, no muscles, no nerves hunt like an animal? How can it feel prey close at lightning speed, digest its victim? It's incredible, but the Venus flytrap solved all these problems. Chapter 2. Trap Design. A marvel of nature. If you've ever held a Venus flytrap in your hands, you know what it looks like. This plant looks like a small bush with leaves that look more like the cheeks of a predator ready to bite. These leaves are the trap. Each leaf of the flytrap consists of two halves. Imagine two palms that can come together. The edges of these halves are covered with long spikes that look like teeth. When the trap is closed, these spikes meet, forming a kind of cage for the insect. Inside the trap is a beautiful, inviting red surface. This beauty is the bait. For an insect, this red color looks like an invitation, a promise of nectar and pollen. The insect doesn't know this is a deadly trap. But the most interesting thing is the triggers or sensitive hairs. On the inner surface of each trap half are located 3 or 4 very sensitive hairs. These hairs are the sensory organs of the flytrap. They respond to the slightest touch. Here's how it works. An insect, attracted by the red color and smell, lands inside the trap. It accidentally touches one of the sensitive hairs. The hair transmits a signal. But here's an important point. The trap doesn't trigger on the first touch. This is protection against false triggers, against raindrops or leaves accidentally falling inside. A second touch is needed. The insect, not understanding what happened, continues to crawl, touches the hair again. Now the system activates. The trap closes at incredible speed. This happens in less than 1/10 of a second. For comparison, the seahorse captures its prey in 1/50th of a second, but this is an animal with muscles and a nervous system. And the Venus flytrap is a plant without musculature. How is this possible? Hydraulics are at work. When the hairs transmit a signal, water rapidly moves in the leaf cells. Cells on one half of the trap lose water and shrink, while on the other half they gain water and expand. This asymmetrical movement causes the leaf to close. This is one of the fastest movements among all plants on Earth. Chapter 3. Birth of a hunter. Why so slowly? After the trap closes, the second phase of the hunt begins. The insect finds itself in the trap, but it's still alive. It tries to escape, desperately beating against the trap walls. But each movement of the insect is another touch of the hairs. The hairs transmit signals and the trap closes tighter, more hermetically. Now digestion begins. But the Venus flytrap is not in a hurry. It doesn't inject its juices instantly. First, the trap becomes completely sealed. The edges are pressed tightly together. Why is this necessary? This prevents water loss and creates a closed environment ideal for digestion. Then, digestive enzymes begin to be released from the leaf cells. These are substances that break down insect tissues into simple parts. Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, all the nutrients the plant needs, slowly dissolve. This process can take from 5 to 12 days. Yes, the Venus flytrap is not in a hurry. It digests its prey very slowly, extracting every useful molecule from it. Why so long? It's efficiency. If you digest quickly, many nutrients are wasted. But if you soak for a long time in your own enzymes, nutrient extraction will be maximum. When the insect is fully digested, only its chitinous shell will remain, a hard outer layer that the plant cannot digest. The trap will open, and the insect remains will fall out. The trap is ready for the next hunt. Chapter 4. Resources of hunting. Why hunting is profitable. Let's do the math. One small insect contains approximately 1 milligram of nitrogen. This sounds insignificant, but for a small plant living in poor soil, this is a real treasure. During a season, the Venus flytrap can catch 10, 20, sometimes even more insects. Remember our formula. In poor soil, a plant gets maybe 5 milligrams of nitrogen for the entire season. From 4 insects, it will get 4 milligrams. That is, hunting doubles or even triples the supply of this critical nutrient. This is the difference between survival and starvation. But hunting requires costs. Closing and opening the trap, producing digestive enzymes, maintaining this complex system in working order, all of this requires energy. The Venus flytrap consumes energy to maintain its traps. It spends sugar, which it produces through photosynthesis. The plant spends energy to get energy. Do we need to do this? In nature, in the swamps where the Venus flytrap lives, the answer is yes, we must. The soil is poor, the sun is sufficient, but nutrients are lacking. Hunting is not a luxury, it is a necessity. A plant that hunts grows larger, develops more flowers, produces more seeds. A plant that doesn't hunt grows slower and may not survive drought or competition from neighbors. This is a classic example in evolution. An organism that finds a new way to obtain resources gains an advantage over its competitors. Over millions of years, this advantage led to the emergence of an entire family of carnivorous plants. The Venus flytrap is the star, but around it are other hunters. Chapter 5. Hunting neighbors. Other carnivorous plants. The Venus flytrap is not alone in its hunt. On the planet, there are approximately 600 species of carnivorous plants. 600. This is an entire kingdom of hunters in the plant world. There are plants that catch insects in sticky secretions. Imagine the sundew. This plant is covered with thin hairs with small droplets on the tips. These droplets look like dew, as if morning dew lies on the plant. But this is not dew. It's a sticky substance, viscous like resin. An insect, attracted by the glow, lands on the hair and sticks. The hair curls, wrapping around the prey. The plant slowly digests it. There are plants that work like pitcher traps. Nepenthes, for example, grows from the leaves of a plant in the form of a pitcher in which liquid accumulates. An insect slides down the slippery walls of the pitcher and falls into the liquid, where it is digested. There is the bladderwort, an aquatic plant that hunts underwater. Its leaves contain small bladders. When a small animal touches a hair, the bladder triggers like a trap, sucking the prey inside. But the Venus flytrap is unique. Its trap is the fastest, the most spectacular, the most impressive. Perhaps that's why it has captured the hearts of gardeners and botanists around the world. Chapter 6. Hunter's Home. Living Conditions. Now something very important. The Venus flytrap is found in nature in only one place on Earth. This is a swampy area in North Carolina, in the United States. This place is Green Pond, a protected area where this unique vegetation is protected. Let's understand why there. The swamp in North Carolina has a very acidic soil. Acidity is one of the conditions that the Venus flytrap prefers. There are many other interesting plants there that also love acidic environments. The water in the swamp runs off sandy hills and doesn't contain many minerals. It is soft water, poor in nutrients. But at the same time, this swamp has many insects. Many midges, mosquitoes, small flies. For the Venus flytrap, this is an ideal place for hunting. The sun shines almost all day. The swamp is open. There are no tall trees that would cast shadows. The plant receives enough light for photosynthesis to produce sugar and energy. Moisture. In the swamp, it is always wet. The Venus flytrap prefers high humidity. Its roots are used to a wet environment, to constant water availability. Drought for it is stress. All these conditions create the ideal home for the Venus flytrap. The plant evolved in these conditions for millions of years. Its biology, its metabolism, its hunting system, everything is adapted specifically to the swamps of North Carolina. Chapter 7: Hunting in Nature, Survival Strategy. Let's imagine a typical day of the Venus flytrap in its natural environment. Dawn on the swamp. The sun has just risen above the horizon. The traps are open, ready for hunting. There are no insects yet. It's still cold. Midday. The sun is at its zenith. The traps are fully open. The red surfaces attract insects from afar. Midges, small flies, mosquitoes begin to arrive. Some land on neighboring leaves on the stem. These are ordinary leaves, not hunters. But some insects notice the bright red traps. The first insect touches a hair. The trap doesn't trigger, this was only one touch. The insect notices danger and flies away. The plant saved energy, not spending digestive enzymes. The second insect lands. It crawls along the red surface, looking for nectar. Suddenly, it touches the hair for the first time. Then, trying to leave, it touches the hair for the second time. Click! The trap closes at lightning speed. The hunt is successful. The plant immediately begins digestion. 7 days, 8 days, 9 days. The trap remains closed, sealed. The insect is completely digested. Then the trap opens. The remains fall out. The trap is ready for the next hunt. Over the summer, the Venus flytrap can carry out dozens of hunts. Each hunt is a new source of nitrogen, a new source of energy for growth. A plant that hunts well grows strong and healthy, can grow more leaves, more flowers. More flowers, more seeds. More seeds, more chances of species survival in the next generation. Chapter 8: Chemistry of Hunting, Digestive Enzymes. Let's look deeper into the chemistry of the Venus flytrap's hunt. When the trap closes, substances begin to be released from cells. This is not just acid. This is an entire cocktail of digestive enzymes. Protease is an enzyme that breaks down proteins. Proteins are the building blocks of all living organisms. An insect is made of proteins. Protease breaks down complex protein molecules into simple amino acids. Amino acids can be absorbed and used for plant growth. Lipase is an enzyme that breaks down fats. Fats are a source of energy. Many insects, especially flying ones, contain a lot of fat in their bodies. Lipase converts these fats into simple substances that the plant can absorb. Amylase is an enzyme for carbohydrates. If an insect recently drank sweet nectar, its body contains carbohydrates. Amylase breaks down these molecules. All of this happens in an acidic environment. The Venus flytrap also releases acid, which helps enzymes work more effectively. Together, enzymes and acid turn the insect into a nutrient soup. But here's an important point. The Venus flytrap doesn't release these enzymes immediately in large quantities. First, it releases them gradually. This is savings. Why waste a lot of enzymes if you can use them gradually? The plant produces enzymes as needed in response to the presence of prey. Moreover, the plant somehow determines which enzymes are needed. If the prey is rich in proteins, more protease is released. If the prey has high fat content, more lipase is released. This is not magic. This is a complex biochemical system that evolved over millions of years. Chapter 9: signals and receptors, nervous system without nerves. How does the plant know that a hunt has occurred? How can it distinguish a real insect from a raindrop? How can it control the release of enzymes? A signal system is at work. When the hair bends, an electrical potential arises in its cells. This is not quite the same as a nerve impulse in animals, but similar. The electrical signal spreads through the trap, saying, "A touch has occurred." But the plant doesn't trust one signal. The second signal is confirmation. A second touch means this is not just wind, not just a drop of water. This is something alive, something moving. After the trap closes, chemical substances begin to be released. Cells of the closed trap release substances called plant hormones. These hormones circulate through the trap, trigger enzyme production, manage the digestion process. When digestion is complete, the nutrient level inside the trap drops. This is a signal to the plant. The hunt is complete, time to open. The trap opens and the cycle can repeat. This is amazing complexity for an organism without a brain, without a nervous system. But it demonstrates that complex behavior doesn't require consciousness. Nature can create a system that responds to the environment, makes decisions, carries out complex chemical processes. All of this without a single nerve cell. Chapter 10: Weak Points of the Hunter. Why hunting is not always successful. The Venus flytrap is a master of hunting, but it has problems. Hunting requires large expenditures. When the trap closes, the plant expends a lot of energy. Water moves rapidly in cells, creating hydraulic pressure. After closing, the plant must relax, return to its original state. This also requires energy. The trap can close up to 10 times before the muscles are damaged. Yes, this plant has its own muscles, cellular mechanisms that can be damaged from frequent use. If the hunter constantly closes without prey inside, it will quickly become exhausted. Therefore, there is a protective mechanism. If the trap closes but doesn't feel insect movement inside, it will open earlier than usual. Why waste energy digesting an empty trap? This is a smart system that tells the plant, this is not prey, this is a false alarm. Another problem is dependence on insects. If the season is poor, if there are few insects, the Venus flytrap may not get the required amount of nitrogen. In such years, the plant may weaken. It may not flower, produce seeds, or produce few seeds. Besides, hunting attracts competitors. Other animals notice that the Venus flytrap catches insects. They begin to eat the plant itself, feed on its leaves, drink its juices. For the plant, this is dangerous. Leaves are organs of hunting and photosynthesis. A damaged plant cannot hunt effectively. Chapter 11: Growing a Hunter Cultivation at Home. The Venus flytrap has become popular with gardeners and lovers of exotic plants around the world. People want to keep this hunter at home, watch it hunt. But growing a Venus flytrap is not a simple task. Remember what we said about living conditions. The plant is from a swamp. It's used to acidic soil, high humidity, soft water. At home, in store-bought soil, in ordinary tap water, the plant can suffer. The soil must be acidic. The best option is a mixture of peat and perlite or peat and sand. Store-bought soil for houseplants often contains fertilizers that the plant doesn't need and can even be harmful. Peat is a woody material that is acidic and good for the Venus flytrap. Water must be soft. Ordinary tap water often contains many minerals, especially calcium and magnesium. These minerals accumulate in the soil and can damage the plant. It's better to use rainwater or distilled water. Humidity should be high. In nature, the plant is in a swamp, in water or near water. At home, where the air is often dry, this can be a problem. Many enthusiasts keep the Venus flytrap in terrariums or under glass to maintain humidity. Light should be bright. The plant needs a lot of light for photosynthesis and for health. A window facing south is ideal. In a dark corner, the plant may weaken. Cold. Here many make a mistake. The Venus flytrap needs a cold period in winter. In nature, it gets cold in winter, the plant reduces activity, goes into hibernation. This is a dormancy period which is necessary for health. If you keep the plant warm all winter, it may become exhausted. It's better to place it in a cool place for several months. Feeding. Many novice gardeners think that the Venus flytrap should catch insects at home. But there may not be enough insects at home. The plant may starve. In such cases, some enthusiasts feed the plant. You can give small insects, flies, ants, mosquitoes, but you need to be careful. Too frequent feeding can damage the plant. The trap can become tired from frequent use. It's better to let the plant hunt naturally, or provide food less frequently, once every week or two. Chapter 12. Exporting the hunter Venus flytrap in the world. In the mid-19th century, European botanists heard legends of a strange plant from America that catches insects. This seemed unbelievable. A plant that hunts like an animal? This contradicted everything that was known about plants. But specimens arrived in Europe, and the legends turned out to be true. The Venus flytrap caused a sensation in the scientific world. Naturalists studied it, wrote descriptions, made drawings. This was proof that nature is much more complex and diverse than it seemed. Gradually, the plant became popular in gardening. Wealthy people, lovers of exotica, began growing the Venus flytrap in their greenhouses. It was a symbol of luxury, a symbol of knowledge of something rare and unusual. But popularity had a negative side. In nature, in the swamps of North Carolina, the plant began to disappear. Poachers illegally exported plants. Swamps were destroyed during road and housing construction. A plant that had evolved for millions of years in one place was threatened with extinction. Today, the Venus flytrap is protected by law. Exporting plants from the wild is prohibited. All plants sold in stores and by enthusiasts are grown in captivity, reproduced from seeds or cuttings. This saved the species from complete extinction. But the threat remains. Swamps in North Carolina continue to be destroyed. The climate is changing. Less precipitation. Swamps are drying up. In nature, very few Venus flytrap populations remain. Biologists are working to preserve the species, growing plants in reserves, trying to restore natural habitats. Chapter 13: Science of Hunting, Modern Research. In recent years, scientists have become interested in the Venus flytrap from a new angle. How can a plant without a brain be such a complex hunter? What mechanisms underlie its behavior? Scientists used microscopes, electronic devices, chemical analysis to understand how the trap works. They discovered that the movement of the trap is not just hydraulics. This is a very subtle system in which several types of cells and several types of muscle fibers work. Outer leaf cells are more elastic, inner ones are more dense. When water moves, the asymmetry of pressures causes bending. It's like bending two connected plates of different flexibility. Their bending shape is predetermined. Scientists also studied acids and enzymes. They discovered that the Venus flytrap doesn't release the same enzymes for different prey. Depending on the size and type of insect, the plant regulates its chemical process. This is surprising. Another discovery is regeneration. The trap can close 10 times. After that, the mechanism is damaged. But the plant can grow new leaf traps. This is a constant cycle. Old traps die, new ones grow. The plant is constantly renewing itself. Modern research has helped gardeners better understand how to properly care for the plant. It showed why the Venus flytrap needs a cold period, why it needs certain soil and water conditions. Chapter 14: Mysteries that Remain. We learned a lot about the Venus flytrap, but many questions remain. How exactly does the plant count touches? How does it distinguish different types of insects by size? How does it know that the hunt was successful and it's time to release enzymes? There are hypotheses, but no complete answers. Perhaps the plant feels vibrations inside the trap. Vibrations created by a living insect are different from vibrations of a non-living object. Perhaps the plant feels chemical substances released by the insect. Fear, adrenaline released by a living organism, all of this could be a signal to the plant. Another mystery is how this system evolved. The Venus flytrap trap is very complex. What were the intermediate stages? How did a plant that didn't hunt gradually become a hunter? Paleontologists and evolutionists are working on this question, but the final answer hasn't been found yet. Another mystery is the interaction with other organisms. In the Venus flytrap trap live bacteria that help digest the insect. This is symbiosis. Bacteria get food, the plant gets help with digestion. But the details of this interaction are still being studied. Chapter 15, Philosophy of Hunting, What This Tells Us. The Venus flytrap is not just a curious example of biology. It's a deep message from nature. It tells us that life can find solutions in any conditions. Where an ordinary plant would not survive, the Venus flytrap thrives. It tells us that behavior doesn't require a brain. Complex behavior, intelligent behavior, can be encoded in the chemistry and physics of living organisms. This is a lesson in humility for people who think that reason is something special, something fundamentally different from nature. It also reminds us of the danger of destroying nature. The Venus flytrap existed for millions of years, adapted to its home, developed an incredible hunting system. But in just a few centuries of human activity, it was threatened with extinction. This is a lesson in responsibility. Every species, every plant, every animal is the result of huge evolutionary investments. When we destroy nature, we destroy these investments. Now you know the secret of the Venus flytrap. This plant became a hunter because its home couldn't give it enough food. In the swamps of North Carolina, where the soil is poor, the plant adapted to catch insects to get nitrogen. The Venus flytrap trap is a marvel of natural engineering. The trap triggers in fractions of a second, closes hermetically, and digestion begins. This happens without a brain, without muscles, without a nervous system. Just thanks to complex chemistry and physics. Hunting requires large energy expenditures, but the benefits are greater. A plant that hunts gets nutrition, grows stronger, produces more seeds. This is a survival strategy that evolved over millions of years. Today, the Venus flytrap is threatened. Swamps are being destroyed, wild populations are declining. But the plant lives in the homes of gardeners around the world, is cultivated in nature reserves. This is proof that the beauty and complexity of nature deserve our attention and protection. If you decide to grow a Venus flytrap at home, remember its needs. Acidic soil, soft water, high humidity, bright light, a cold period in winter. Give the plant conditions close to its natural environment, and it will thrive. Watch this amazing plant hunt, and you will see how nature can be simpler and more complex than we think. The secret of the Venus flytrap is the secret of survival, adaptation, the elegance of natural solutions. Thank you for watching.